Before we go on to decorating, I noticed something that, and you'll notice I ripped it off. I literally ripped it off. My handle actually was tearing into this paper. It's graphic 45, and so, like I said, graphic 45 does that. So I just ripped it off. So I'm hoping to get this up into the front of my video, so you'll see this first. So if you are watching this now, you'll get the handle first, but just continue like the rest of the video. So for example, what I did, this is just a mini version, and I went ahead and I did our score mark in the middle, and then the 1/2 and the 3/4, and the measurements are there. What I've done is I now scored 1 inch at the end of each. So pretend it's that full 12-inch length. And then you have the side. When I do the tutorial, we cut a little bit off so it would fold nicely. It would fold nicely. So now what you're going to do on this short side, you're going to cut right along that 1-inch score mark to this middle score mark and up. So you're going to take these 2 corners out. So you're going to now put your score tape here and fold it over. Score tape here, fold over. And then you're going to fold over again. But now you only have this 2 pieces of paper. You don't have a big, thick wad that's going to go underneath here now. It's only going to be the 2 folds instead. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and make this now. And I actually am going to use a different paper color. And I've lost my other cutter. Here we go. So I'm going to cut it. So we'll go ahead and make one together. And I'm just doing this again to show you. You're going to actually see the exact measurements. I made this too long, sorry. I mean too wide for my handle. So the measurements are going to be the same when you're watching the rest of the video. So we scored this. We cut it at 2 inches by the 12. And I'm scoring at 1/2. So 1/2, 1, and 1.5. Now, let's go ahead and we're going to score 1 inch on each end. Actually, I'm going 1 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this over. Fold those ends over. Trying to use the lighter side so you can see. And fold it in half. And half again. So if you sew, like I mentioned in the video, you'll notice this is starting to look like bias tape. We're making paper bias tape. Now, we do have to shorten this edge. It's going to be, and actually it doesn't matter which edge you decide to do, you'd need to take about 1/8 of an inch off, and you don't have to be perfect with this. Just take a little bit off. Now on this short side, what we're going to do, so the side that you just took, put these away, took that off of, you're going to now at that 1 inch score line, you're going to cut it right to the middle and up. And then we're going to do the same here. So I'm going down the middle to my 1 inch score line. So it will look like this. And I'm just, my tape's sticking to everything today. I was making flowers, so. Okay, so we're going to put our score tape along this wider side. chipboard tape on this one. This also makes for a nice sturdy paper handle. Now on this smaller side, don't put it over here. You're going to have tape hanging over your edge. So I'm just going down what I now count as my short side. And we're going to fold that over. Now, when I put this back onto my book, see, we only have 2 layers of paper instead of the 4. And so I think it's going to be a lot nicer under there. And I apologize, I don't know why I didn't think of that first. And then I will put my paper back down again. And it'll be nice and flat and it won't come through. So go ahead and when you get to that part, so you're going to see the making of this and seeing me attach it so that it'll be easier for you to work on. Just go ahead and make your handle and cut it like I'm showing here in the first of the video and put it aside. I would go ahead and decorate the inside. Now I'll go to the next step, decorating the inside, but leave this one open because it's going to be a lot easier for us to work on without that handle here, because it did become a pain. And thanks for being patient. This is what happens when I design things. As I'm making them, I figure them out along the way. I'm not one of those that writes it down and figures it out. So this is the beginning of the video, but then it's going to show it to you again. So you don't have to make it right now if you don't want to, but go ahead and make it, but don't put it on, and continue on with the rest of the video. Hi, so I was getting started on a new project that is going to also be for our mini album swap group. And when you're looking at this was actually my model, and so it's been through a lot of wear and tear. I keep tearing it apart to redo my measurements. So we're going to be making this little chipboard purse, and these are really fun. And I'll tell you what, they're a lot more sturdy. If you've seen, you may have seen the albums that you just score the paper and then you make these pockets by scoring it, and they just don't hold their shape. So I wanted something that would hold its shape, and this is the chipboard purse. And inside we'll have 7 of these pockets, and there will be pull-outs, mats that you can do any way you like. And like I said, this is a mess because it was my prototype when I was trying to figure things out. So what you're going to want to do first is you're going to cut 2 pieces of chipboard that are 6 inches wide, 6 inches long and 5 inches wide. Now I marked one with the front, F for front, and you're going to want to take off about 1/8 of an inch so that when we have our fold over, it will lay nice. So 2 6x5, and then just trim about 1/8 of an inch off the front. Then you need a 6 inch long by 3 inches wide, and then you need 2 6 inches by 2 inches. So these are basically your spines, the top and the bottom. And what this determines is how many pockets will be in your little purse. So if you don't want 7 pockets, maybe you want 5 pockets, go ahead and only cut these 1.5 inches. So you can adjust those to however many pockets you're having. We're doing 7, so we want 2 inches. So I went ahead and taped my 8.5 by 11. I kept it 8.5 by 11. I didn't do any trimming at all. We'll do that after. And I put the score tape on each side, just like when I make my albums. And we're going to join those together to make one nice big long piece. And we may have to add a little bit more. To be honest with you, I haven't made this album in a while. So here's the front. And actually I'm putting this front cover right on that seam because I know we're going to have it hit. So then our next piece, we need to take one of the 2 inch. And if you have any hangovers on your cardstock. I'm cutting it. I just take a sanding block. And you can get those sanding blocks. You can even get them at Home Depot or at Lowe's, or you can get them at Sally's Beauty Supply. And then we're going to want our 3-inch piece that will be right here. And I know we'll have some to cut off, but we have to accommodate where we've joined our paper. So then our next piece is going to be another 2-inch. And then our last piece will be the back. And so we are good. Actually, we need to switch these around. Sorry, that's the front. That's going to be the back. Okay, so your front piece is going to go at the end. So go ahead and put your back piece in the middle. Like I said, it's been a while. I've made a bunch of these a while ago, and I just was asked to do a video. So it looks like we're going to go ahead and start with laying out our middle piece. And let me go ahead and get my score tape. I don't know why I turned that over, but so I'm using 1 inch just to get this on. You can use wet adhesive, of course, and mine of choice is core tape for the whole construction. Even matting my pages is, if you've watched any of my videos on the decorating, excuse me, I use core tape. This is also a cute project that doesn't take a lot of time. You can actually do this in an afternoon if you have an all-day Saturday or Sunday, and it's great to sell at boutiques, craft fairs, and I actually keep them in my store. And they go very fast. I can't keep these, even when I do craft fairs, I can't keep these in stock. So let's go ahead and just center that back piece. And I'm going to use the 1/4 inch score tape as a spacer. I like to have that 1/4 inch spacing in between my chipboards so that nothing splits or tears when I excuse me, when I fold it up. So now we can go ahead and go with this next 2-inch piece. I don't know why we can't keep in camera. There we go. A bit of overlapping there. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the score tape. So you should be able to still see it really well, especially if you're using a black cardstock. And I'm just butting it up there just to get an idea of my, it helps me keep things a little bit straighter. And then another spacer. Now this is the 3-inch piece. I can't get a hold of that. There we go. That way I can just overlap. And you know, it's not necessary. You don't have to worry about covering the whole chipboard unless you're using a wet adhesive. So if you're only using like your 1/2 inch score tape, go around the edges and some in the middle, even if you're using your 1/4 inch, but add a little bit more. Because you don't want your paper to bubble when you get it all together. If you don't have enough tape there, it will move. Okay, now we'll move this down and on to our next 2-inch piece. Okay, on to our decorating. So we already cut, and I haven't done all the inside of mine. And that's where I left off on the video. Now there's something I want to show you. And I've noticed because I'm using graphic 45 paper, I'm getting a crack right here. And so before we get going, I want to show you something that I've done different for the handle. And that's, I am actually going to end up taking that off. So this is just a miniature version of our handle. And I scored it just like I showed you in the video. And I want to go ahead and now show you what I'm going to do different. So we've got it all scored and it's turned over. Now I went ahead, and it's hard to see, I scored 1 inch on each end. So go ahead and hope, I'm going to put this out there first so that you're watching this. So don't do it like I just did it in the video. Do it this way. So your score marks are the same, except for you're going to score each end at 1 inch. So what we're going to do is we have one end, one side, and we made it shorter. And so this is the end you're going to work at. You're going to have your middle score line. We are going to go right along that 1 inch score mark on this shorter side. We're going to cut just to that middle, and then we're going to cut down. And you're going to do that on both sides. This is going to eliminate the bulk that the handle is causing. I don't know why I didn't think of this before. So now we'll go ahead and fold in our middle, and you'll put your score tape just like regular in the video. Then you're going to put your score tape here, fold it. Then you'll score tape again, fold it over, and now you have 1 inch on each end that will go underneath here, and it will not be bulky. So you'll get rid of 2 layers of the paper, getting rid of that bulk underneath, and it won't tear the paper like it's done here. So actually, I'm going to have to go ahead and remove this so you can actually see what happens when I have to tear an album apart, because there's just too much bulk. And yes, it takes paper with it, but you're okay. And then I'm going to take off my handle, and I am going to still actually use this handle, I think. Let me see if I can maybe get it apart. No. So I'm going to throw it away. It's just a piece of the paper. And so I'm going to cut another handle, and I'll go back and do that, but we're going to go ahead and go on and decorate. So I will mat here after I make my new handle. So no damage is done and everything will be covered. But remember, just do your score lines exactly like I show you. But when you do your score lines on this short end, you're going to cut on that 1 inch. You're going to make that 1 inch score line, and then you're going to cut those corners right out, so it will look like this. Then you'll just fold that over, and then over, whoops, and then over, and then this will be attached underneath the paper, and we won't have that issue of bulk and cutting in, tearing out the paper, and you'll have that full inch underneath there. So there's that, and we'll make a new handle in just a moment. But now we're going to go on with decorating our cover. Okay, go ahead and take off our spacing score tape. Now, if you're using a wet adhesive, then you can go ahead and just mark it at 1/4 inch. I wouldn't trust using the 1 or 2 chipboard measurement like they mention on some videos, because it's not going to be enough. So if you just have a ruler, or maybe if you have one of these pads down, because in between here is just 1/4 of an inch, so you can just line it up and then lay down your chipboard. And where did my 1/4 inch go? There we go. Now my front cover. Now remember, your front cover, you should have cut that just about 1/8 of an inch shorter. That just makes the 3-inch fold over. It'll just lay over a lot nicer. And I have to say thank you to Susan Chamberlain. She is one of my friends on Facebook, and she does a lot of chipboard crafts. And so she brought that to my attention, that things will just lay a lot nicer when you're folding them over if you do shorten your chipboard by that small amount, and it does make a big difference. So thank you, Susan. And that's one reason I love to do free tutorials. I love the fact that everybody jumps in and gives me ideas and what works for them and what doesn't, and then I'm able to share them with you. Okay, because there's no reason to have to pay for tutorials. Well, there is, but I figure if I know it, I'll share it. And there we go. So we have our purse put together. So you can see how it's starting to take shape. Now we're going to go ahead along these edges with score tape, but before I do, I want to go ahead and cut a little bit of this off. Now, you can do it 2 ways. I just use a straight edge. Just a regular box cutter. Measure it about 1 inch. Take that right off. And I'm going to trim this end up just a little bit. One reason this is a lot heavier cardstock, and I don't want any bulk. Okay, so now we're going to go all the way around our top edge of cardstock and also the edge of our paper so that we can fold everything over. Okay, I have all the tape around the edges. So as you can see, I went just all around the perimeters, right over the top. Now for our corners, you can go ahead and mark them if you need to. Or if you're brave, just go ahead and cut, making sure you're leaving at least, I like a full 1/4 of an inch. So sometimes that's where I will go ahead and mark. And then I cut on this side of the line to make sure I have plenty of room that we cover that corner. So as you can see, I don't use any extra special tools because folding it against that corner is just about all you need. Now we're going to go ahead, and I like to pick up my book. I don't go through, I used to go through with my bone folder and like do a scoring edge until I was on the edge of here and I stuck my bone folder through, made a hole. Yes, it was heartbreaking. So now I just take it and bend it against, whoops. Okay, I bend it, there we go, against the chipboard. And then that will be enough to give you somewhat of a score line. You can see how it's done on that side. So remove all your score tape backing. Okay, we'll start here at the top since you've already pretty much relaxed it and got it where you want it. I just fold it over. And I'll do the same for this side. Now I need to do my corners, and I always do turn it back towards me. Just a weird way I learned to do it. Then I push it over. Let me get a corner. So it's going over that chipboard. Just push it in even in, with your finger now. And then I bend it over. And then the same for this side. Bring this down. And really, when making this little album, it's no different than making just a regular mini album cover. Now I'm using an extra, like I said, thick paper, so I'm having to really push it down. Now what I do for these, because you see the score tape also serves another purpose. It's already, see how it's going to grab down that paper? It's going to hold it nicely so when it folds up. And I like taking a rounded edge. You can even use a rounded pen. Whoops, rounded pen as long as it's rounded. And you're very gentle. Then you can just push the papers right down in, but you'll see how it's going to grab a hold of that score tape. And when you're leaving that much space, you should be able to bend your paper very nicely. And you won't have the fear of that cracking because you've left plenty of room between these two pieces. Turn it over. It lays very nice and flat. Then it will come right over. See how nicely that just fits over there? And you will have a little bit of a slant if you cut your chipboard when you set it all the way down, but we won't be setting it all the way down. I'll show you with the magnets. Whoops, I need to stay in camera. See, there'll be that space. Instead of that hitting, we'll actually bring it up just a hair, even it out, put our magnets down, and then we'll have a nice space. Now, on this back side, where the spaces are, I also go in with my tool or your pen. Be very gentle. I'm just going to smooth those out. So here it is with the pen. Just gently going in. But I like my Cricut tool. Actually, right now, as I'm doing this video, I believe all the Cricut tools are on sale 50% at Joann's. And this is something that, to be honest with you, I don't use it with my Cricut. I use it for everything else. Taking my score tape backing off, I use it for a lot of things. So now that I've done that, now do you see how those smoothed out really, really nice? Your edges should. And if they didn't, that's okay. You're going to cover them with paper. And now we're going to do our inside cover. And let's see, I actually had this piece, but I do have a seam there, so I'm not sure. I think we'll be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this down. Now this is 6 inches wide. Yeah, 6 inches wide. So I want to cut my paper down. So if you're not going to have it taped together, mine's just that way because I messed up on the first piece. Excuse me, I'm going to cut it 5 7/8. Now, let's see, maybe. Sorry, my cutter's just on the other side here. for me, I'll be putting that just about in the middle. And nobody's going to see this like in an album. And I don't think I will be using that. Let me get 2 more pieces. So I'm going to take 2 more pieces and cut them down to 5 7/8. Those didn't line up correctly. And let me just make sure. No, I think I'll take another 1/16 of an inch off. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is check my positioning, because we are going to end right here in the crease. Well, I don't know why I can't keep that in there. See where this bends? You don't want your paper to end. I want it to end more here. So I am going to take about an inch or so off. So take off what you need, because it'll depend on what end you're starting at. If you're starting at this end, you won't need to. But because I'm starting at this end, I'm going to. So now I'm going to land in the middle, well, about 3/4 of the way in the back. Got the hiccups, excuse me. So now I need to lay out my score tape. Let me get this position different there. And I'm going to go ahead and go around all 4 edges. Now I want to go the long way, because we're going to be going over some hinges. Whoops. And we don't want to land in the middle of those hinges with our score tape. Okay, I'll open a new one. Now before I put this down, I'm going to take my 1/4 inch so that everything is assured to lay nice and flat along my hinge areas here. And I'm just putting it on the chipboard. It's just a little extra security. Okay, so we can go ahead and take. Now, if you're using a wet adhesive, I don't think I would do this step, but you could try it. I'd be worried about it getting too wet inside of the hinge area, and maybe going through, and sometimes you know how glue can just make your paper really soft. And I use glue very rarely, but there's times I do use it, but I use it extremely sparingly. I can't get the position of this camera tonight. Okay, let's go ahead and line up our paper. Now, just like we did when we first started, we had to go through our hinge area, and you will be able to see it from the edge, and you're going to do the exact same thing. I want to make sure that's somewhat down. Black paper likes to mark. But again, you should be able to bend your paper pretty decently and not worry about it cracking. And once again, it should catch down there on the score tape. And I'm going to go around my edges. Now my next piece, I have to be careful, I had taken off, grab this, I took off the backing to that score tape. There we go. I need to get this measured. And I don't want too much of an overlap here because you don't want a lot of bulkiness. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark about an inch, ½ inch to an inch over, and cut that off. Okay. I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did on that last piece. This is also another great little project to get rid of your scraps when it comes to your decorator paper. You can use up all those smaller pieces that you've kept. I don't have any hanging over the edges. Okay, we'll go ahead and line that up top and bottom, hopefully to match my other sheet of paper. If not, don't fret because you're not going to see a lot of the inside of this. And once again, let's get our creases done. You can see you've got a nice little box here. So magnets, I'm going to use my large basic gray magnets, and for this I'll use 2. If you're using the small, I would go ahead and use 3. And once again, I don't worry about measuring, but that's just me. They're all stuck together. I can't get them apart. Wow. These aren't marked correctly because we're not, hold on. That one is. Well, we're going to have to, somebody marked those wrong. It's okay. When that happens, just take the adhesive off both sides and turn them around. Okay, I'm going to go in about, so let me put it down here on my mat. Get more here on my arrow. So I'm going to go in here about an inch. Let's see, I'm going to have to take all this off. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Just kind of eyeball it. Fix this one. I'm going to have to remove the adhesive. There we go. Now, before I take this off, I'm going to move those. And I'm actually just going to put a piece of score tape on top so that when I put the top and bottom together, I won't lose one of my magnets, so they stay where they're supposed to be. Now, you're going to want to bring this up and then look at your placement from here to there. Make sure you've got a little bit of a gap and that you're making it look like it's going to be even. Once you feel that it's where you want it to be, then go ahead, foam folder inside. I'm just going to go over those magnet areas. Now I'm going to slide it just to make sure nothing comes off. You should be good. Now you can, well, let me tell you why I don't. The reason I didn't put my magnets underneath this paper, then we're going to mat it. That's going to be a lot of layers your magnets have to go through. This way they're only going to have to go through one layer of paper, which will make it a lot sturdier. Now, if for some reason you're looking at this and you don't like where it ended up, which I don't, and I'm going to have to realign it, that's okay. You just take them off. And so, let me just, I'm going to do is just put them up here and put that there with one more piece of score tape. So don't ever hesitate if you feel that your magnets are in the wrong place. Just take them off. Even if you rip some paper, don't fret it. You're going to cover it. So let me make sure this is where I want it this time. And that looks much better to me. Push that up. Make sure things are down. And see how easy that was to fix? Perfect. I like that much better. For the inside now, we are going to go ahead, and what you're going to want to do is decide. Now, I covered the bottom and the sides. It's up to you if you want to leave it black or whatever cardstock you're using. And if you want to cover your insides. So you'll want to go ahead and let's do that now. So you'll want to go pick out your paper, and I'll go grab mine. And when I get back, we'll go ahead and cut those and start lining the inside. For this purse, I'm going to be using my Graphic 45, and it is the Monomar, you know that French word. And so I'm using, for the inside, I'm going to use my 6x6 pad because I don't need to cut a full sheet of paper. I just have to decide what I would like the inside to be. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and go with this one. Now, before I do that, because I'm going to actually need, I wonder why there's only 2 of those. Did I skip one? I skipped one. So I'll probably need all 3. Before I do that, though, I am going to go ahead and make the handle because we want the handle to be underneath the paper. So to make the handle, you will need to use one of the 12 by 12 sheets of whatever you're using, or if you have some scraps for the handle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 2-inch piece. I'm just going to use my small cutter for that. And I'm going to cut 2 inches. And then I need my scoreboard now. Usually move it when I'm making my covers. Okay, so on our scoreboard, you're going to want to score. So we have 2 inches, and we're going to score it at 1, right down the middle. Then you're going to score it at 1/2. I may have told you wrong. 1/2, 1 1/2, and then 1/2. Just let me double check this really quick. No, that's correct. Okay. So after you score it at 1/2, 1, and 1 1/2, and it doesn't matter which end, I'm just going to take off about 1/16 of an inch. Now I can't get it to lay down flat. There we go. Just a tiny bit off the edge. So we're going to fold that side, whichever side, it doesn't matter, first. Then I'm folding another one in. So if you sew and you use bias tape, then you'll kind of get an idea for what we're doing. Because we cut that a little bit shorter, now you should be able to fold that over, and you will have, let me show you. So you will have almost like a seam back here, because we are folding it over for that extra strength to make the handle. And now let's go ahead and open it back up. And I'm going to apply my score tape. Get my 3/8 of an inch. Now the 3/8 of an inch, I love it. It fits into your 1/2 inch without hanging over. I have that all the way down. Let's just fold that over. Secure that down. And this is about the only album I do that you have to make. You have to make the cover first. Otherwise, I always do this, you know, at the end. We're going to go. Now we need to attach these together. Now it's important that you don't put tape on this wider piece. You need to put it on this thinner piece, because you don't want extra tape hanging over the edges, or you're going to have a sticky handle. So on the side that I cut that 1/16 of an inch off is where I put the tape. And I'll remove that backing. And you'll see what a nice firm handle you have. So you can also use a paper handle. You can use beads. Actually, you can do, store-bought handle, just about any handle that you wish. So you're going to want about 1/2 inch on each side to 1 inch, depending on how high up you want your handle to be. But you want to make sure it's in far enough that your paper is going to cover it. So I'm going to just put it down, and I'm going to fold it over that edge, and it's going to be good and firm. Make sure where I want it, preferably right in the middle. And so I'm going to go ahead and put a small piece of score tape right there. Center this up. And then once again fold it over. over and make sure you're centered. And don't worry, you'll be able to smooth your handle out. Make sure that's what you like, where you want it. And then when you open it, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a booger to work with. I'm going to go ahead and put another piece of score tape right over that edge. Now this is going to be, it will be a little bit bulky under your paper. So if you're not wanting it to be this bulky, then you might want to not double it so many times. Like I said, I did it just single, and you can, but then it really does start to wear here on the edges. And that's why I did another one with this double handle, and it was a little bulky, but I really liked that it was more sturdy. So now when you open the inside, now I'd like to go ahead and start cutting down my papers. And you're not going to have to cut much because you're using, if you're using a 6x6. So I'm going to cut this down to fit. I'll take it just a little bit more off that edge. Cut the next one. And this one's going to come down onto the cover. This piece. So actually I need to make sure my designs are going to go the right way, or however you like it. Let's see. So when we open it, you're really not going to see this, so but it still might bother you if it's upside down. Now we need to cut a 2 inches and one to fit our 3 inches. And you know what, because I may run into issues there, and I'm going to need 2 more. I think I'll go ahead and go with just a white, maybe. Yeah, we'll put the antique on the inside. Let's see if there's a black one that's been antiqued. There sure is. I'm going to use the black. This huge cutter I have doesn't do great when it comes to a 2-incher. It doesn't have the stopping marks, so I'm just going to use my small one. Oh, we're good here on the 3-inch. will go at the top. This one's going to go right there. And I'll put one more in the middle. Like I said, these two are going to show. These three aren't going to be as noticeable. Maybe we'll just play here a little bit. Maybe I will go ahead and go with the last piece. That's what we're going to do. Now on this, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to ink my edges with black soot. Just need to find my dauber. Okay, dauber was found. I went ahead so you didn't have to sit through that with me. And I did ink all my edges. And I'm going to go ahead and attach my score tape. Because this is the inside, I am using a little bit wider. Not totally necessary. You are going to have a little more tension inside with those with the accordion pockets. And you do want to make sure your paper will stay down. And this will just give it that finished look along the edges. Stand up so I can see what I'm doing. So I'll go ahead and put my two biggest pieces down first. Going on the front, well, yeah, the front. Then we can do our spine pieces. You can see how this is starting to come together quite quickly. Now this top piece, or the next 2-inch piece. Now I'll decorate the inside of mine, make my pockets, and I actually won't do the outside till that'll be the very last thing I do. Okay, now like I warned you, this will be bulky. Sorry, there we go. Kind of difficult to work with. But once you get it down, it'll be just fine. going to turn it this way, and I'll get the next piece down. Magnets. If you have tape on there, go ahead and remove the backing. Make sure your paper is the right way that you want it to be. And that's something, yeah, because when we open it, if you have writing, you want it to face upwards. Make sure I get this on straight. And then on the magnets, I like to go around those. Make sure the paper is down. So there is the inside of my book, and then it will close. Now, oh, and also you may have to just do a little more, you know, rebanding. Then I have the handle, which I really like, and I will show you. I'll be wrapping pearls around mine. And I really love this graphic 45 paper. Got that in a little bit of the seam, that's the problem. Which is okay because you won't see it. That's why I had to reband mine. Okay, I'm going to have to cut that actually because I don't want it in that band, but I'm not worried about this because you won't see it. You won't see this back part. So I'm going to cut it, otherwise it's going to get in the way of my bend. So I'm just cutting that edge off. Hopefully you didn't get yours that close. Black on black. Sometimes it's hard to see. So now it's going to be a little rough. Just going to take my sander. And I'm going to take my black ink. Now remember, this is paper. And everything that happens, even if it's a boo-boo, it's just one more opportunity to fix it. And no one's going to see hardly any of that. But there, now it's out of my seam. And we're good. So that is your purse, and we'll do the outside after we do our inside pages. So now you're going to want to do, we need to do these pages. So if you're using your 12 by 12 paper, you'll actually use less. Otherwise you're going to need 7 pieces of cardstock, whatever is you're going to use to match your album. For the pockets, we're going to do 3 of these together, and then I'll go ahead and come off camera so you can finish and do the other 4, so you don't have to sit through my boring talking. So anyway, we're going to cut 7 pieces that are 6 7/8. So I went right to the line before 7 for that 6 7/8, and then they're 9 inches long. So you're going to take on your 6 7/8 inch side, and we're going to score it 1/2, 4 1/2, and 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and score 3 of them with you. 4 1/2. And the reason I turn this, unless you're really good at just getting your 1/2 inch perfectly even on that 6 7/8 inch side, I would suggest just turning it for this. Years ago, I could not figure out why my pages were always crooked. I was having a lot of problems. And I found out I wasn't, you know, cutting them the exact maybe 6 or 7. and I would score on this edge, and guess what? It was off. Even if it was off a 1/16 of an inch, it made my pages off, and I found out that had been my problem. So I always score over here, even though I hate to. I just don't trust that I've cut my paper completely perfect. Okay, so now we have, you'll have 7 of these, but we're going to do 3 right now. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my score tape, which I just had and lost. There we go. And you're just going to want to put, let me bring this down. Hopefully you can see my score lines. So you have your 4.5 score line just at the top. Really, it doesn't matter which one because you can turn it. You're just going to put score tape on 1/2. Now, I suggest you just use a pair of scissors. I wouldn't worry about using a cutter unless you want to. Reason being is you want to actually cut a little bit shorter on that side. I'll show you. So we're going to go ahead and taper off our edges. Now you get back up. Wish when I moved it up it wouldn't jiggle. Okay, go ahead and do your half fold there. Go ahead and fold your edges. Now, you want to cut down here away from your taped edge. Now you want to cut on the inside because you actually want to get this a little bit shorter. It'll fit a lot nicer, and don't worry about being perfect. We're not looking for a perfect line here. Now when you get to that 1/2 inch, turn it at an angle and cut it. So once again, I'm going to go on the inside, and we may have to still trim and angle. Now let's fold it up. The goal here is that you will fold these over and there won't be any bulking. It'll lay flat. So if you've cut your page in a little bit, made it smaller, you'll have plenty of folding room. So go ahead and then fold it up. And remove your tape. And then you'll have a nice pocket that will fit right inside your purse and have a little bit on the edges. Now, over here, we are going to actually be covering this with, with our decorator paper. Let me see something. You know what? Actually, I did not miter my edges, so ignore that. But it doesn't hurt anything if you already did. I'm just going to trim that up. It won't hurt anything because you're going to be taking your paper and we're going to wrap it. Sorry, I'm just not staying camera. So see how that gaps there? Gaps there. We are going to be wrapping it so it won't show. But let's not miter our edges. Like I said, it's been a little bit since I made a couple of these. So we're not going to be mitering these edges after all. Just make sure we don't have any score tape. And once again, I should have folded it first, but it won't hurt. It may not have gotten out enough. It caught on the tape is why. Well, that's weird. It grabbed the tape from underneath. Never had that happen. Let's see if this one's all right. May not be. Nope, that one I'm going to have to redo, which is okay. So we'll fold this one up. Now that hopefully I haven't totally confused you. Actually, let me get my other scissors. There we go. For some reason, I'm getting stuck under there. Fold it up and make sure that you're going to have plenty of room. That looks much better, actually. I don't know. Seems like my folds aren't quite in half for some reason. Let me straighten that up. There we go. That's much better. Remember, paper is paper. You're the boss. You need to tell it what you want it to do. Let's see something. I did that again down there at the bottom. But we're going to be just fine. So let's make one more together. So let's go 1/2. Four and 1/2. 1/2. Let me just make sure we're going to be matching. Leave it to me. If it's not going to be straight, it'll not be straight, trust me. Okay. Score tape at the top. Make sure it's down good this time. My scissors stuck under there. Come all the way to the edge, the fold. There we go. That was much better. I'll bet you wish you could gel and have me here when I go out of camera. So sorry about that. Okay, go ahead and remove the back. And I will go ahead and get my other pages made. And that should, if you have any questions though, I hope, you're good there. Just the 4 1/2 and then the 1/2 on each side. Tape at the top. Cut your bottoms and we'll fold them up. So we'll be back and we'll get our sides all decorated. I have my pages all done. And so here we are back. And you should have all 7 of your pages now. 2, 4, 6, 7. Now I went ahead and I cut my strips. This is, kind of the monotonous part. So you'll need 2 strips per page. So what I did out of the 6x6, I just chose 1, 2, 3, 4 different designs, and I cut my strips 4 1/2 inch long. Well, I cut it 16 inches short of 4 1/2. And I know I should get my measurements down better because you want it to go from top to bottom, but you just want a little bit of space. And then I did 1 1/2, 3. I'm brain dead here. 1 1/2 inches. Sorry. So they are almost 4 1/2 long, just that 1/16 of an inch off, and 1 1/2 inch wide. So I hope I didn't confuse you. So I kind of laid them out in the order. I had them laid out in the order that I want them to be. So I'm going to pick up my 1 1/2 inch strips, and we are going to score our strips at 3/4. Now this is what will show on the sides of the accordion. See, the rest of the accordion really won't show, just the inside. And really, there's no need to decorate that. Just your tags that will be inside. And so this is what you want decorated, just the accordion, so that that's what shows. So these will need to be scored at 3/4 inch, and you'll need to do all 14. And then I am going to take my black soot and I'm going to go around my edges. So let me just score a couple more with you. So 1.5 inches wide, and we are scoring at 3/4 inch. Whoops, everything just fell over. Okay, I have all my pages inked and they're folded in half. And what we're going to do now is go ahead and line your line in between here. You'll need the score tape on both sides of. Okay, when I am putting these on, what I do is I line up the bottom, especially because I angled it too much and I do have a spot there. Now, if you cut your sides that 1/16 of an inch, you'll see that it's not quite to the top. So I put it on there, make sure it's nice and firm. Then I bring the camera back in. There we go. And holding it down after I know it's there, it's right up to the edge, I open it, holding this bottom, holding this down, and then I fold that over. Then I turn it over and see this one is already nice and secure. So you're not having to try and get it on there straight. So we're going to do it again. And I want to make sure it's on there. Pushed up to that edge firmly. Holding this down, remove that score tape. And that's what your page should look like. So let's make a couple more of the pages. Okay, I'm going to get my score tape. I am using the 1/2 inch. You don't have to. You still can use a smaller. Just make sure if you're using like the 1/4 inch that you're putting a piece kind of close to this score line and then on the outer edge. And right now it doesn't matter which ones we put on, because we will put them in the order that we want when we put our album together. And what we'll do is we'll do 3 of these, 3 more together. And then I will get mine finished while you get yours finished, and then we'll put our pages together. Now on this, you do want to make sure you have no score tape hanging over that edge. Line it up with the bottom. Firmly down on the page itself, and flip that over. Make sure that's down firm. Also, you'll want to make sure your page is up, not upside down. Like I said, this is a really good use for scraps. Make sure it's even with the bottom. And I'm just pushing that right to that edge, holding this down. I just find it so much easier to do it that way than trying to take your score tape off, getting your page in there, and then finding it's not in there where it belongs, because once that score tape's on there and it's down, you're not going to get it off without ripping it apart. And trust me, I've had one of those weeks. Everything I've made, I've had to rip it apart. Okay. Line that up with the bottom. I'm just going to push it all the way in there. And the next one. And then the back side. Okay, let's get out another one. I hope I've been staying in camera. I haven't been paying attention. I will pay attention this time. Okay, score tape down each side. And make sure I've got the right side up. Once you get all the little pieces cut, it goes by pretty quick. Oops, I got some tape over the edge. Okay, we'll do one more together, and then I will get mine all done while you're getting yours done. And I've lost, oh, because that doesn't go with this. A minute there, I thought I cut an odd number. So I'm going to put just another little piece. I didn't quite get it to the top. Right to the bottom. Okay, when we come back, I'll have my pages all put together and I'll show you what to do next. Once you, excuse me, once you have all your sides done, you'll want to take however, you know, you may have only done it one design of paper, or maybe you chose, like I did, 4. So you're going to want to line them up, almost like when you do a waterfall. Which one did you want to come first? This will help to tell us, you know, your front and your back. So what you'll need to do now is take a ruler and a pencil, and it's a little hard to see on black, but that's okay. And we are going to measure 1.5 inch from the bottom on our paper and just draw a line. from the bottom. Turn that over. And then on the front of the next one, we're going to draw out 1.5 inch. And our next one. And this is probably the only time you'll really see me measure, because you do have to be somewhat precise. We have to make sure that we leave a space at the bottom for the accordion. Now on the front and the back, I mean the back one especially, you're going to have to draw 1.5 on each side. So if you're not sure, you can draw it on each side. It's up to you. Let me show you. Because when we accordion, see, we want this to be pretty much free at the bottom so that it can accordion out, and yet it'll be together at the top. I don't know why I can't keep in camera with you guys tonight. I apologize. So, starting with our front, using whatever size score tape that you're choosing to use, you're going to go across the top of that 1.5 inch. And if you are using a wet adhesive, you'll do it each time you adhere, of course. So we're going to do it just like that around the perimeter, across the top, the bottom, the sides, and then I am going to put some extra in here for strength, and because that's just me. So there's that one. Now we won't do anything to the back because we're going to do it to this page, and you're going to do the exact same thing, just across the top, across the sides, or across the bottom, sides, and then across your top. I'm just going to scroll down here. I want to make sure, there we go, I didn't lose anything. Sometimes I bump my keys of my keyboard. Ah, didn't want to tear. Ah, there we go. Almost to the end of our pile. Now, this last one, you're going to have to do it on both sides. Okay, starting with our second one, and you'll need the first one. So turn it over. One side will have score tape. So we're going to go ahead and remove the backing on page 2. Now we want to line up page 1. So what I do is I just get them down at the bottom. Side to side. Okay, Once you're there and you're comfortable that everything's straight, give it some good firm bone folders there. So once again, we just move down our pile. It is better to work on a flat surface so you have that flat. Now, when you pull on this a little bit, you might, you're going to feel the score tape come up a little bit, and that's okay because you need that elastability for your pages to be flexible. When you use glue, some glues, not all, but they will harden, and sometimes they'll crack and pull apart. So once again, we're going to get our sides even, maybe. Okay. Well, we are close enough. So this time I'm just going to line up first, get a good look. I'm holding the corner tight. See if this will help. Then I'll go ahead and take that piece off. That helped me a little bit. I am pushing pretty hard because I want that scored tape together. A little bit there. I'm just going to do it this good old-fashioned way. Get my bottom together. Sides. Okay, and then our last one. Sides lined up. Have an accordion file. Isn't that awesome? See how that came together? And I have to tell you, I've made this much bigger too. I've made an 8x10, which made a really nice personal file for my receipts. So now let's open our book. Now, one thing when putting our book together, you want to start, well, I do. I like to start with the back, and you want to make sure that you are touching the bottom. You need to be touching the bottom of this. So let's take off the score tape. Pushing over the edges. If you have, now make sure you're touching that bottom. Now I'm going to turn my book, so hopefully you can see I'm lining it up. Now you should just barely be edge to edge. Okay, make sure you're down there touching the absolute bottom. Now I'm just pinching my pages together. There went a fly, sorry. Touching it to the bottom. Okay, and then when you're comfortable, go ahead and put it down. Now we're going to do the front. So we're going to take off our score tape. And on this one, you want to make sure you still are going to keep your pages down towards the bottom. Okay, now you're going to be down towards the bottom. I hope you can see. You're going to pull this right to the edge where it folds up. Let's see, can you see? So I'm folding this up as I'm bringing this up. Okay, it's a little tricky and you'll just want to play with it while pushing down a little bit. Once you get your cover where you feel it straight, you're going to bring it up. Oh, mine might be hanging over just a hair, but then we're going to go ahead and really get that down. It's just a hair, but it's manageable. Then you're going to close your book. There's your accordions. And for the little while you're working on it, especially your cover, you'll still want to go back a little bit until that even score tape needs time to settle. Get everything down good and tight. Now inside here, I'm going to go ahead and I will put probably some little decorated buttons. Maybe I'm thinking these would look really good that I had picked up a while ago, and to somewhat give that a cover. And I will use E6000 glue on this, and what I'll do is I'll let it dry overnight, so I just don't want to sit still. Anyway, they're going to go right there. And I'll put one on each side. And that will also dress it up a little bit. And we can go ahead now and actually start working on, well, on our inserts. Now this is 4.5 inches wide, so I'm going to cut mine 5 by the 6. Let's see. So this is just kind of a scrap. I want to see how this is going to fit. So I'm going to cut mine about 5 7/5 so that they'll come out a lot easier. So I've done 5 7/5, 5 3/4 by 5 1/16, but you can just go with 5. And let me see when that closes. Nope, I am going to have to cut it. So I cut it down to 4 7/8. Let's see if that's a better fit. So that's what you're just going to have to cut them and play with them. And that looks like that's going to fit. Now you can do a couple of things. We can use the envelope cutting board, or you can actually cut little tabs if you have tabs. I'm going to go ahead and use my envelope board, and I will cut these at one, probably, I think I'm going to go ahead with 2, and I'm going to do 1 on each side. I'll alternate sides on the different, there we go. That sounds better. And then I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to put it about 3/8 or wherever that hits. Should be about 3/8. And then you have a nice tab. And when you go to cut, if you want your paper to fill it in all the way, I cut my paper at 1 5/8. Well, I punch it on the punch board at 1 5/8, and then it should match up perfectly. So then we'll make 7 of these, and then I'll have the alternating tabs. So I'll make 7 of those, 6 more with my punch board also, and then I'll get those all cut out. We'll decorate those, and then we'll also decorate the front of our our purse. And if you've gotten this far, I hope you're really excited and proud of yourself, because aren't they adorable and cute gifts, and they don't take very long. So I'll see you back after I get my papers cut and we'll get this all decorated. Okay, now on to decorating. So if you noticed, I've already got, I haven't put my handle back on. So if you are just getting, you're just into this video, you've already watched my beginning part. So I just need to clean this off. Okay, because this is the point where I pulled mine off. I'm going to go ahead and get started decorating. And I did cut a few of my papers. And what's funny is I started making the flowers for mine. And I actually used some of my paper and cut those. Oops. So I'll be cutting a few more. So for our front and back, I've cut two pieces that are the 5 inches. Well, they're 4 7/8 by 5 7/8. And that's just kind of personal preference. It's however you want yours to fit. I like just that 1/8 of a border. And then for my flap, I have this 3-inch piece, and I'm using the graphic 45, one of the sheets. I just thought it's so gorgeous. It'll make a lovely purse. So now I need to cut 2 pieces that will fit my top and bottom. And since those are pretty small, only 2-inch pieces, for the top, I'm actually cutting it a full 2 inches. Well, that wasn't 2 inches. I need to pay attention. Because of the 1/4 inch. I had this problem too when we were building down and staying in camera. Bring it down. There we go. We have some spaces there, so I'm going to make it the full 2 inches. And then, I can't believe I used that on my flowers. I wasn't even thinking. I need to get another one. So I'm actually going to use what I used on the inside. Yeah, I think I'll just use the black since it'll be sitting down. And okay, so I'm going to start with my bottom, and I'm going to use my bigger score tape. And then you can kind of decide, while you're decorating it, depending on what paper you're using, what you want to make for flowers, or do you want to just use embellishments and cutouts. And I went ahead and made my flowers, but I'm going to make one of them with you just to kind of give you an idea of how easy it is to make your own flowers, especially if you're a beginner. I know when I was beginning, I really just felt bad. Everybody had these beautiful flowers. I didn't ink my edges. They had all these beautiful flowers, and I felt like my projects just needed to have all the flowers. And I found out real quick that those flowers are expensive. They're more than the paper. So I just learned to do my own. And once you learn, you find it's really easy. So we'll go ahead and make a couple. We'll make one so that you can get a feel for it. And I actually meant to have this done so you don't have to sit through this boring part. Okay, I think one of mine is just a little bit shorter since our front, if you remember, we cut that chipboard just a little bit shorter than the back piece. And just like the cover of your albums, you're going to want to make sure you know, it's secure. You don't want anything coming off of your book. I mean, the front of your purse. So this is where we'll remove off of our magnets. Let's see. I have my flowers going this way. And once again, around these magnets, I just want to make sure they're down good and tight. And go ahead with the 3-inch piece. And this is where you can also do a lot of different decorating with laces. You can really dress this up, make it look really fancy. Okay, now our back cover, our back piece. I definitely am going to have to make another one with this print because I love the little pink roses. I'm going this way. It's more like the pattern. Remember, when you're putting your paper down, if you're using score tape, just keep your fingers back there. Just real quick, I am going to go ahead and go along the bottom here. I didn't ink those paper edges, and that's driving me nuts. And then our top piece. Now for your flowers, if you have any 5-petal flower punch, they will work. You can use ones that are rounded. I have some jagged edge ones. I've used all of them, so it doesn't matter. You just want to have, those flowers just look better when they're going the different direction. You're going to just want a 5-petal punch. And I'll show you. This is what I made for mine. So I've got the white and the black. They'll show up better when we get them on there. Some more of the white, and then I did some of the papers. So what I'll do is we're going to go ahead and make another one of the white ones. And I just used a cardstock. Sorry, I just have to grab my other punch. Okay, and these are the two that I'm using. And this one is quite large. It's the EK Success, and they're both available at your, like, Joann's or. So this one's the 2-inch, and this one is the 1.5 inch. And you're going to start with 3 of the smaller ones. And then you'll want 2 of your big ones. Oh. And they do like to get stuck. I don't know how to get around that. Let's see, is that going to work? And part of my petal is missing, but it'll be just fine for this. And I like to use paper towels because we are going to get these 2 large ones wet. I don't know if I can get a hold of there. And I love these little spritzer bottles. Pick them up again at Joann's. So go ahead and let's just spray your petals. This is what's going to give it that hard, crunchy, dried look. And I like to use a small crochet hook. And I just take this down. Let's see, I need to get this a little bit wetter on the edge. Oops. Okay, right down here on the center. And then I am just pushing it. Excuse me. Now I'm just going to go back and kind of bend it up over. I don't like to just grab it when I first spray them, because if you do, sometimes they like to tear. I mean, they're still pretty fragile because they're wet. Just encourage that to come together a little bit more. Now for this one, I'm going to take my tips like this and just twist it with my thumb there, and I'm going to push against my thumb. So I'm bringing it together. My thumb's about midway, and yes, it might tear on you. You have to be kind of gentle. And you might just want, it'll take some practice. So we're just going to crunch those edges like that. Put that to dry. And we'll go ahead and work with our smaller ones. Now on the smaller ones, we definitely don't want to wet them down because we want them to crunch up. And I'm taking, I love these McGill's. And I got these at Hobby Lobby. And there's also a pair of tweezers. They come in the 3 different ball sizes. And you do get this mat. Love these. So let's go ahead and we're going to start right here on these petals. And I'm pushing pretty hard because I want them to just curl right up. And then I'm just going to push in the middle until it starts coming into a ball. Now this is going to be my center. You can kind of see how you want it to really ball up there. And then I like to use a hot glue gun, and I'm going to go right down the center of one of the petals. Not a lot of hot glue, just a little. I'm going to smash it together. I like to open and push my thumb against. And then you'll have to do a little bit of reshaping. And then I'm going to go to the opposite side with some more hot glue. Glue sticks want to fall out. Try and not get it towards the center. So if you just do that on the 2 opposite ends, you should be just fine on the glue. You won't need any more. Use the small end to help push against your finger to dry. And that's going to be our center bud. Bring things down. So we'll set him aside. Squeakiest chair. Okay, now we're going to go on with these 2. I'm sorry, one day I'm going to learn to speed up my camera so you don't have to sit through all the details, but I hope that it helps you learn that you don't have to go out and buy all your flowers. I know I feel that way still sometimes. I'm like, so what I do is I just sit down, I look at other flowers, and I make myself learn how to make the flowers. So that one, you can see it's not quite as much together, because you want one that's closed, like we just did. Then you want one that's a little more open, and then you want another one that's a little more closed. Push in that middle. And with this paper I'm using, I do have to push hard. And you can use any paper, just white cardstock. You can use a paper that is textured. Okay, so we're going to take these two. I like them to be a little bit drier, but that's okay. I'm going to start. I'm turning this over. Remember, we pinched it up this way, but I'm turning it over. And I should let them dry a little bit more, but that's okay. I'm going to put the glue there. Now you want to stagger those petals. Now, when I'm pushing down on that hot glue, I like to push in the middle to bring those petals up. And then we're going to go to the one that's a little more open. Darn glue stick. Second one, or the third one, so you'll have three put together like this. And then this one is a little more closed. Make sure we're staggering there. And then our bud. And it's going right down in the middle. Use the smaller side. Make sure we're on there good. So we are now going to take the tweezers, and in the flower kits they look like this. It gives you more control. My flower's probably too wet, but that's okay. I'm going to take, so we have our bud, and this is our second set of petals, and I just want to take one corner and I'm rolling it. Like these when they dry. So if you have one of those heat guns, you can actually speed up your drying process. And then just put it all together, and then what you do is you're going to let it just sit aside and finish drying, and you'll come out with more of your gardenia look. And see, they're nice and hard, they're solid. And then I like to make the leaves, and so what I do is I also have a punch for that, and it's the McGill, it's the leaf punch. And so I like to just punch out the leaves. Again, this is one less thing you have to purchase. And then with my mister, I'm just going to get that wet. And this one I'm going to go ahead and do both sides. I think I might be out of water. Oh, and if you have a shimmer mist, you can also use that instead of water. So sometimes you can pick up these little bottles, and then it gives it a little bit of a shimmer and a color. And then I take it off my paper towel using my crochet hook. Then I just push that middle in. And I push it in again, and then I set it aside, and it'll dry, and you'll have a nice crinkly leaf that you can now add to your flower. And it has that more realistic look. I do know how to talk. I apologize. So I'll put those aside, because actually I like that glimmer spray to dry. and I'll be using those to decorate with. And then I'll get my handle on. So let me move our book up, and then to show you what I do with all the flowers I made. So I made a bunch that were also small, so it was just those 3 small petals. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start with my first flower. And I am going to put quite a few flowers on this. I want a cascading look. And then I'll go ahead with the pink. Now on these pink ones and the black ones I used from the paper line. I'm going to add a black one. And yes, these blue stems. Now here's some of the smaller ones that I made out of the 3. Just the 3 smaller punches. And then as I get going, I'll make more leaves. So I need to see if this is what I like. Like I said, I want them, I'm looking for this cascading effect. And then I will fill in with more flowers. So you'll just want to play now with your album to get the look and the feel that you're looking for. And then you can go on to decorate with different embellishments. Like on this one, the model, I used a butterfly. And I'll probably get some more metal things. I'm sure this will go on there. Probably down here is my clutch in the front. So go ahead now and you can just play with your album and get it, your book, and get it all put together. And I hope you had fun learning to make your little album purse. And I can't wait to see when we start swapping on the mini album swaps page how everybody's turns out. Thanks for watching.